strengths and different abilities that you're playing through, and that is somewhat of an open system, but it does have some narrative progression. It's in the middle. What kind of emergent systems games might you be familiar with? Minecraft, definitely. Is that what you were going to say?
Well, I was going to say Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead?
Yes.
That's where you can just run around and there's no real goal?
Well, there is a goal, but the zombies can come from completely different areas, and so it's like an adaptive.
Okay. So I think a game like The Last of Us would be a narrative progression game, where it's like you're following along. I haven't played that one, but I've heard it's like you're watching a movie and you're pushing a couple buttons. But but the emergent system would be a zombie-themed game with being able to form teams, run around. It's very interactive, very different every time you play it. Okay, and then finally, we could think about the genre of a game. Now, this is what some of you were trying to do before. Hopefully you understand the difference between theme and genre. Let's make a bunch of genres. What kind of gameplay genres are there out there? What'd you say, Connor?
FPS.
FPS. Everybody know what that means?
Frames per second.
Frames per second. That's right. No. What does it really mean? First-person shooters. Right. That's a genre. You could have a space game. You could have a war game. You could have a crime game. You could have a paranormal fiction game about a first-person shooter. They're different kind of ideas. So what other genres do we have? I listed off like 20 here on my sheet of paper.
RTS, action adventure.
One at a time. I can't write that fast. RTS. What does that mean? Real-time strategy. Things are happening all the time. You have to make decisions. You're strategically trying to figure out what's going on. What else?
Turn-based strategy.
Turn-based strategy. Yes, and this is TBS. No, that's a bad TV channel. Okay. What else? Because I want to just list them off. Not everybody has the same experiences playing games. Some of you might be just hardcore gamers. You play games all the time. Some of you might be casual gamers. You play Candy Crush. Some of you might have other ideas. But today and for the next week is to get everybody the same experience with games, knowing the language, knowing what's going on with them. So what other ones? Let's just list all the ones we can think of. The what? MMO. What does that stand for again? Massively multiplayer. Massively multiplayer online game.
MMO stands for WoW.
Wow. Exactly. World of Warcraft is an MMO. Let's make sure we have common examples. What is a common example of a first-person shooter? Doom. Yes. RTS. Starcraft. Turn-based strategy.
Fire Emblem.
Fire and what?
Fire Emblem?
Fire
Emblem.
Fire Emblem?
Fire Emblem.
Okay, I have not played Fire Emblem, but I need to. Okay, I was thinking about Civilization. Okay, this one's World of Warcraft. What other types of genres can you think of? Action.
Action adventure. How did you guys miss RPG? Yeah.
We need RPGs, role-playing games, not RPG. RPG, yes. What else? MOBAs. The MOBAs. What is a MOBA? Multiple player online battle arena. It's another type of game we might encounter. What's a good example of a MOBA? Dota. Dota is a MOBA. Yes. Okay. And LOL, right? League of Legends. Yes. MOBA, Dota, LOL, all those things. So, what else?
What about like The Sims, where you don't really have an end?
Simulation is a genre. Yes, there is SimCity. There is farming. There is Railroad Tycoon. There is Roller Coaster Tycoon. There is Sim Ant. You could be an ant, run around. Yes. What other kind of genres are there? A what?
Like fighting games?
Fighting games, yes. Mike Tyson's fighting. Yes.
Puzzle games.
What kinds? Puzzle games.
Platformers?
Platformers. Racing games. Perfect.
Can we include freemium on this list?
That is a business model.
It's more of a business model. Because you could have a freemium MOBA. That would be pretty horrible. But
Point and click.
what?
Point and click.
Point and click. Yes. Others you can think of.
Arcade shooter.
Arcade shooter.
Roguelike. Yeah.
Roguelike. Good example of that one is Rogue. And NetHack.
Third person shooter.
Third person shooter. What's a good example of that one?
Gears of War.
Yes.
Top down.
Shooters out there.
A what?
Sidescroller.
Side-scroller. How is that different from a platformer?
What about visual novels? Some people.
Like interactive fiction?
Yes.
Like the Walking Dead series. That's a funny question.
But like Dear Esther? Or other games like that? People heard of Dear Esther?
Yes.
Maybe not. Okay,
It's
some
not
people.
really a game. I don't-
Some, depending on how we classify games, some people might say it's a game, some people might say it's an interactive experience, some people might get really upset at you for saying it's not a game. There's a lot of stuff. We'll talk about some of the ethics and stuff about games and what's going on with games at the end of the semester once we've done a lot. But other genres that you can think of. What have we missed? There's 4X.
Yes.
Have you heard of 4X games?
Yeah.
The explore, expand, exploit, exterminate.
It's like, that got real
It's like yeah, I know.
Like space
They're usually space simulations where you're taking over an entire galaxy, trying to run it and do lots of stuff with it. There's like Eve Online, or there's Sins of a Solar Empire. Large games like that are more 4X games. There's lots going on. What else is on my list here? Oh, not for that. Ah, so close. Come on, click. There we go. Dexterity games.
JRPGs.
JRPGs, what are those?
They're like RPGs. But
Japanese RPG.
It's like a different
necessarily-
style than
They get their own category.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give them their own category. Okay.
What game would you say is a dexterity game?
Any questions?
Cookie clickers.
Cookie clicker, maybe. Cow clicker. Well, it's just where you have to do something exactly right. What? Quap. Yes. Yes. Quap. QUOP. If you have not played that game, you should go torture yourself very soon. So,
Don't do it.
oh, not a JRPG. What else? Let's see what else I had on my list.
Forgot sports.
Sports, yes.
Imagine a bunch of computers like majors of your books. Yeah.
Sports games, they are big, big business. There are just the casual 3-in-a-row games. There are tons of games where you just put things in a row.
Don't find those like a subgenre of puzzler?
They're puzzlers in some ways. They're casual games. There's tons of casual games that you can play for just a minute and then do something else and come back to it and play, and you're just trying to align things. Tetris, put things in a row, flip things around. Simple games.
There's always board games.
There are always board games. I love board games. Tower defense. That's not how you spell defense, is it? Yes. Okay. And it's a type of game. What type of tower defense games are you familiar with?
Balloon tower defense.
Balloon tower defense. Pretty much they're called tower defense. Yeah. Like Plants vs. Zombies. That's a good tower defense game. There's no towers, but you're trying to defend your lawn. What else did we miss? Dexterity, simulation, turn-based strategy, trivia games. It's a type of game. Fits into our categories. Trivia.
Yeah, no, dance.
Dance Revolution. Exactly. That's more a dexterity game as well. Dexterity games, a lot of Wii games. Wii golf, Wii boxing, all those things involve dexterity and doing things exactly right with your Wiimote.
Do we have a
Wii
term?
Ghostbusters.
Do we have a term for games made out of mini games like Mario Party or
Party.
Like a party game, like a Smash Brothers game? Or
Like,
That's actually
I mean, Mario Party, like, I don't know if it falls into another genre. Like, I've never heard of any other.
I have not played Mario Party.
Losing your friends. Specifically Mario Party.
Mario Party. Okay. Okay. This gives us a good way to say, here's a game, what is it? That's what we've been trying to talk about. What type of theme is it? Is it a system? Is it a progression? And then this is talking about mechanics. How does the game do what it's supposed to do? This is the part where we're probably going to focus more on the mechanics, the underlying pieces of a game, not so much on the genre. We're not going to be doing game studies and game narratives. Leave that to other people. We're interested in the development parts of the game in this class. So we need to get experience trying to think of genres, trying to think of mechanics and rules, and taking a game apart and figuring out the pieces that make it work. What is this game? So we have a lot of experience with that. Let's go back to this website. Nope, that one. Aha. We can try to say a game can be analyzed into these 8 pieces. What are the players? Who are the players? How do they interact? What's the objective of the game? What are the procedures? What are the rules? What are the resources in the game? What kind of conflict is present? What kind of boundaries are there that the game defines? And what types of outcome might there be? Questions about these words and how they can work with a game. Some of them ambiguous, some of them confusing. Yes, Connor.
Are rules more like what you can't do and procedures things you should be doing?
That's a good one. This took me a while to understand. I was reading through this game design workshop book, seeing their elements of game, and procedures and rules, since we're computer scientists, can probably be thought of as rules are the structure. You're going to say, here's all my objects in the game. Here's the way those objects work. Here's the names of the methods and what you can and can't do. And the actual algorithms, the guts of what goes on, I would call those procedures. The methods, when you're saying deal everybody 5 cards, that's a procedure. The rule would say the cards you receive must be face down or face up. The rule's slightly different than the actions. Actions, the things people can do, and these are the restrictions on those things. This is allowed, this isn't, these are the elements of the game. Does that make some sense? I needed to clarify that. I'm glad someone was also confused by that. Okay, resources. What kind of resources could be in a game? Money, mana, lots of stuff, boxes, cubes. Conflict, we talked about that a bit. Boundaries. Games always define boundaries. You're playing within a little box. You're playing in this world. Sometimes you can break those boundaries. Some games require you to break boundaries that you don't expect, especially games like an alternate reality game. Is anybody familiar with those? They are games that you can play, but then all of a sudden you have to call a telephone number and actually interact with a voicemail system to get an answer. And then you have to go on the web and decipher some piece that you just didn't expect that to be part of the game. But there's usually always either implicit or explicit boundaries on what's allowed. It's like, what if in order to win Civilization, you had to find some website and go to some specific location in the world? You wouldn't expect that because there's an implicit boundary that everything happening in that game is happening inside the computer. So you always want to be conscious of what are the implicit, what are the explicit boundaries of a game. Then we talked about objectives.